Welcome to Midnight Declassified, where you can relax before bedtime with tales of the paranormal, the supernatural, and chilling unsolved mysteries. If in the last episode we stepped through the gates of Skinwalker Ranch, a land shrouded in countless unexplained phenomena, then tonight our journey becomes more terrifying than ever. We won't be talking about UFOs. We won't be talking about flickering lights or advanced scientific instruments. Instead, we will return to the very beginning, to the place where every rumor, every nightmare, and even the name Skinwalker itself began. A Navajo curse, a ghost from history that still haunts the Utah desert to this very day. In the American West, endless deserts stretch toward the horizon. By day, the sun scorches the earth, leaving nothing but cracked stone and dust. But when night falls, the air changes. An unnatural chill creeps in, the wind howls like mournful voices, and sometimes there are footsteps in the dark, though no one is there. Centuries ago, the native people had a name for this land, a name filled with dread. For the Navajo, it was bound to a horrifying being, naaldlooshii, which translates to the one who goes on all fours. In their legend, this was not just an animal, it was once a human, a shaman, a healer, a man of sacred knowledge. But driven by greed for power, he betrayed his people. To gain the ability to take the shape of any creature, a wolf, a coyote, an owl, even another human, he had to commit the most unthinkable acts. Killing a loved one, breaking the deepest taboos of Navajo culture. From that moment on, he was no longer a man, he had become the Skinwalker. This might have remained only as a story had it not been for a tragedy in history that bound the curse to the land of Utah. In the mid-19th century, the Navajo suffered under the U.S. Army. Thousands were forced to abandon their homeland and endure the long walk, a brutal 300-mile march from Arizona to a barren new territory. For them, it was the ultimate humiliation. Families torn apart, people dying along the trail, sacred mountains left behind. And in their grief, some Navajo elders laid a curse upon the land that had been stolen. They declared that anyone who lived there, anyone who dared to build homes on it, would forever be haunted by naaldlooshii. In other words, the Skinwalker became the embodiment of their rage, their vengeance, and their grief that would never fade. From that time on, locals whispered of strange happenings, cattle vanishing without a trace, unexplained noises in the night, dark figures darting past windows, and glowing eyes staring from the shadows. For the Navajo, Skinwalker stories were not just scary tales for children. They were a real fear. Even today, Navajo people avoid speaking of the Skinwalker after dark. They believe that to say the name aloud is to call it forth, to draw it near. Some tribes still perform protective rituals, sprinkling white ash around their homes, chanting prayers in an ancient tongue, or carrying charms passed down for generations. And there is one absolute taboo: never look a Skinwalker in the eyes, for they believe if you do, it can read your thoughts and steal your soul forever. Skeptics dismiss this as superstition. But when Skinwalker Ranch rose to infamy in the 20th century, filled with its own terrifying accounts, the details matched the Navajo legends in ways too chilling to ignore. Cattle disappearing and being mysteriously mutilated, shadowy figures in the form of wolves, twice their normal size, prowling the night. Unnatural sounds echoing across the fields. Could these be the consequences of a curse cast nearly 200 years ago? Could it be that the Navajo were right when they warned this land was never meant to be disturbed? In Navajo belief, power never comes without a price. To become naaldlooshii, the one who goes on all fours, a sorcerer must perform a blood-soaked ritual, breaking the most forbidden taboos. It is said that the path to transformation begins with betrayal. The sorcerer must kill a close family member, often a sibling or even a parent. Only by abandoning every shred of humanity can he cross into the world of shadows. Then comes the ritual with animal hides. By wearing the skin of a wolf, a hyena, or a predatory bird, the sorcerer does not simply disguise himself, he becomes the beast. Unlike shamans, who call upon animal spirits for protection, a skinwalker dons the hide to hunt. In this form, they can run with the speed of wolves, soar like owls, or vanish into the night like a hyena. The Navajo believe that once transformed into a skinwalker, the person's human soul is forever lost. What remains is a dark, ravenous will to spread fear, steal lives, and drain the very energy of those unfortunate enough to encounter it. A skinwalker does not die in the ordinary way. Even if you shoot it, it will rise again. The only way to destroy it is to know its true name and speak it aloud. Words of a Navajo elder. This is why, when the word skinwalker is spoken, many Navajo fall silent. Not because they disbelieve, but because they fear that naming it will call it forth. For generations, stories of encounters have been whispered through Navajo villages. They are never written in books, but passed down from parent to child, from grandparent to grandchild, warnings etched in memory. Uintah, the figure in the desert. A Navajo man recalled, "That night I was driving across the desert. The headlights suddenly revealed a massive wolf standing upright in the middle of the road. I slammed on the brakes, but in the blink of an eye it was gone, nothing but dust. I thought I imagined it until I looked in the rearview mirror. Those glowing eyes were still there, following me. I pressed harder on the gas, but the entire drive home, I felt it running beside me, just outside the light." 2. The voice in the night. A young woman shared, "I heard my mother's voice calling from outside the hut. It was so familiar it broke my heart. But then I remembered, my mother had been dead for years. Still, the voice called, pleading. When I peeked out, I saw a hunched figure, unnaturally long, its hair covering its face, repeating my mother's voice. I slammed the door shut and whispered a prayer. Instantly, the voice vanished." The Navajo believe that skinwalkers can mimic the voices of loved ones, luring you out of safety. Step outside, and your soul may never return. The vanishing cattle. Even before Skinwalker Ranch became infamous, Navajo farmers complained that their livestock disappeared under eerie circumstances. No blood, no drag marks, no cries for help. Only a ring of flattened grass, as if something massive had landed. And the animal was simply gone. Some ranchers later discovered carcasses with surgical-like incisions. The blood was completely drained, and in some cases, vital organs such as the heart or liver were missing, removed with a precision no predator could achieve. These accounts align disturbingly well with Navajo lore. Skinwalkers are said to hunt at night, and cattle, lifelines of the community, are their favorite prey. And here, a chilling question arises. What do these ancient Navajo legends have to do with the modern-day mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch? The answer that many dread is this: the similarities are too close to ignore. The immortal wolf of Skinwalker Ranch. In the very first days after the Sherman family moved in, they were confronted with a scene straight out of Folklore. A gigantic wolf, far larger than any normal animal, calmly approached them. The strange part? It showed no fear of humans and even allowed them to touch its fur. But within moments, the wolf lunged and clamped down on a calf. Tom Sherman fired his rifle, hitting the beast in the abdomen. The wolf didn't even flinch. Another shot, then another. Blood spilled, but the creature stood unfazed. Finally, after a direct hit to the face, the wolf staggered backward, turned, and slowly walked away, leaving behind tracks that mysteriously faded into nothing. When Navajo elders heard the story, their conclusion was immediate. That was no wolf. That was a skinwalker. In their tradition, a skinwalker can wear the hide of a wolf, transforming into a predator that defies death. No ordinary weapon can kill it. The shadow in Homestead. Two among the most famous events ever captured on camera at the ranch is the footage of a towering figure gliding past the window of Homestead 2. Skeptics argue it was light tricks, a visual glitch, or deliberate fakery, but the Navajo saw something else entirely. The Skinwalker can take human form, but it will always appear wrong, too tall, too twisted, too uncanny. What you filmed, was it half human, half beast? Cattle mutilations. From the Sherman era to the time of Naides, and even under Brandon Fugel's ownership, the ranch has been plagued by one terrifying phenomenon: livestock found dead, their bodies marked with surgical-like incisions, the blood completely drained, organs, hearts, livers, cleanly removed. Scientists propose theories: UFOs, advanced weaponry, secret experiments. But to the Navajo, the explanation is far simpler. Skinwalkers hunger for blood and energy. They hunt livestock because it is life itself, and they leave their mark as a show of power. The hitchhiker effect. Another chilling mystery. Those who set foot on the ranch often bring something back with them. Strange noises in their homes, shadow figures in bedrooms, recurring nightmares, dogs barking into empty corners. NIDS once reported it. Brandon Fugel's team has since admitted it too. In Navajo culture, this is known as the mark of the Skinwalker. Once you see it, it can follow you home, planting fear in your very own sanctuary. The curse of the Uintah Basin. Why is the ranch the epicenter of all this darkness? The Ute people, the tribe that took the land after the Navajo were driven out, have their answer. They believe that before retreating, Navajo shamans bound the Skinwalker to this land as an act of vengeance. From that moment on, the Uintah Basin became a place of shadows. To the Navajo, Skinwalker Ranch was never a mystery waiting to be explained. It already had an answer. It is where the curse dwells. When the Navajo and Ute clashed in the 19th century, the Uintah Basin was soaked in conflict. Battles between the Navajo and the Ute tribes left scars that still linger. After bloody confrontations and the forced intervention of the U.S. Army, the Navajo were expelled. Legend says that before leaving, Navajo shamans performed one final forbidden ritual, a ritual of sacrifice and shadow, to seal a curse into the very soil. The purpose? To exact vengeance on their Ute enemies and upon any outsiders who dared to trespass. Since then, the Ute have avoided the land. They call it cursed ground. They do not hunt there. They do not camp there. They do not farm there. White settlers and their ignorance. When white settlers arrived in the early 20th century, they paid no heed to the warnings. To them, it was simply cheap land for ranching. But it wasn't long before strange things began: cattle vanishing, howls echoing in the night, dark figures moving outside windows. For the Navajo and Ute, none of this was surprising. You built your homes on a wound, and a wound like this will never let you rest. The spiritual meaning of the curse. In many cultures, when a land is marked by war, death, and ritual, it carries the energy of memory. For the Navajo, it is more than memory, it is spirit. The entities summoned by shamans, whether demonic forces or the beast-like skinwalkers, still linger, refusing to depart. That is why, to them, the ranch is not merely farmland. It is a doorway into darkness. When modernity confronts myth, in the 20th and 21st centuries, as NIDS researchers and later Brandon Fugel's team invested in the ranch, they brought with them the tools of science: ground-penetrating radar, drones, infrared cameras, radiation meters. But here lies the irony. The more science tried to explain, the more the phenomena resembled the old legends: immortal wolves, distorted shadow figures, bloodless cattle mutilations. All of them echo the Navajo descriptions from centuries ago. And so the chilling question arises: Is modern science only proving that ancient curses were real all along? The Ranch, where past and present converge. Skinwalker Ranch has become a strange crossroads. On one side, Navajo spiritual tradition speaks of curses, skinwalkers, and vengeance. On the other, modern science deploys instruments, data, radar, and surveillance. And the result? Neither side can provide a final answer. The Navajo believe they have always known the truth. The modern world remains lost in shadows of incomplete data. From oral tale to national legend. For centuries, the story of the Skinwalker, the shapeshifter born of Navajo curses, existed only within native communities. The Navajo passed it down orally, around campfires, with dire warnings. Do not speak their name, or they will come. But in the 20th century, when strange incidents in the Uintah Basin began leaking beyond tribal circles, American newspapers picked up the stories. Local reports told of vanished cattle, glowing UFOs, and wolfmen prowling near the ranch. From that moment on, the Skinwalker was no longer a hidden Navajo secret. It became a symbol of America's supernatural frontier. More and more, the image of the Skinwalker has been embraced by Hollywood and documentary producers. Hunt for the Skinwalker, 2005, Colm Kelleher, George Knapp, the groundbreaking book that opened the door to mainstream research on the ranch, spreading the concept of the Skinwalker to a global audience. History Channel, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, 2020, present. A reality TV series that transformed the ranch into a spectacle, where millions of viewers witness experiments and bizarre phenomena unfold in real time. In American horror films and TV series, the Skinwalker has repeatedly appeared as a supernatural monster, standing alongside vampires, werewolves, and zombies. Thanks to this, the Skinwalker has evolved from a sacred native belief into a pop culture icon. When the internet exploded, the Skinwalker became a meme, a creepypasta, and a recurring tale on Reddit, YouTube, and TikTok. Videos titled "Encounter with a Skinwalker" have pulled in millions of views. People recreate eerie sounds, post blurry photos, and add chilling effects designed to send shivers down viewers' spines. What was once a closed-off Navajo story has now turned into a global legend. Why is the Skinwalker so captivating? Cultural psychologists point to three key reasons. Primal fear. The Skinwalker often appears as a human-animal hybrid, a predator. It taps directly into humanity's ancient fear of being hunted in the dark. The forbidden factor. Among the Navajo, speaking of skinwalkers is considered dangerous. This very taboo only heightens the curiosity of outsiders. Ambiguity. A skinwalker can be a sorcerer, a beast, or a supernatural entity. It resists definition, allowing anyone to imagine it in their own way. When legend collides with science today, as Skinwalker Ranch becomes an open laboratory, the strange phenomena documented by Brandon Fugal's team, shadowy figures, giant wolves, unexplained biological effects, mirror the descriptions found in Navajo legend. This blurs the line between indigenous folklore and modern science. And in that blur, the Skinwalker is no longer just Navajo lore, but a global icon of the mysterious, a mirror of collective fear. Perhaps when we look at the Skinwalker, what we really see is not simply a supernatural creature, but the primal fears etched into humanity's psyche. Fear of the dark, fear of being hunted, fear of enemies with powers far beyond our own. From this perspective, the Skinwalker is not only a Navajo legend, it is a mirror reflecting the survival instincts of humankind itself. Curse or explanation. There are three main approaches to explain the existence of the Skinwalker. The Navajo curse, a spiritual tale where a shaman transforms into a predator, spreading terror as vengeance for historical injustices. The supernatural phenomenon, the Skinwalker, truly exists, moving between this world and another, with the ranch serving as a gateway. Psychology and culture. The Skinwalker is a product of collective imagination, nurtured by memories of war, fear of the dark, and the human need to explain the unexplainable. But why does the fear endure? No matter which explanation you believe, one thing is certain: legends never die. With every new generation, imagination breathes new life into the Skinwalker. The Navajo still whisper warnings, "Don't speak their name." Modern Americans produce TV shows, films, and podcasts, retelling the story again and again in different forms. The result? Fear continues to be passed down, turning the Skinwalker into a living legend, an ending or a beginning. Today, Skinwalker Ranch is no longer abandoned. It has become a research hub, a mysterious tourist attraction, and even a global cultural phenomenon. But for the Navajo, the story has never been about science, entertainment, or commerce. For them, it remains a spiritual wound, proof that there are forces mankind was never meant to disturb. And perhaps that is the true curse. Not that the Skinwalker haunts the land, but that the fear of the Skinwalker will forever haunt the human mind.